there, I'm Devorah Crable, and I am sporting my COVID-19 fashion look. But because I'm here and I am socially distanced from my wonderful cameraman, I'm going to take this off so I can share with you what's in store for you today. I want to welcome you to the 2020 Quad County Urban League's Women's Empowerment Summit. And yes, this is the first time in the history of the organization that we're coming to you virtually because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So instead of being in a luxury hotel, we're going to be coming to you from virtual remote locations from all around the state. And we certainly hope that you and yours are safe and well. Now, just because we're not in a hotel does not mean that we have compromised on the quality of this event. You will still be able to experience dynamic speakers who will be giving you amazing information that you'll be able to use to scale up your business, that you'll be able to use to expand your career options, and yes, even enrich your networking database. So if you know of anyone right now that you might pick up the phone and call and ask them to join you for this extraordinary event, I expect you to do that now. Because the speakers that are coming up are truly amazing. We have panels that will be giving you some riveting, just compelling information that will be critical for you to have to move forward towards greater success with your business. And of course, we will be having our business competition, which is always my personal favorite. We'll be topping off this extraordinary day that happens in 1 hour and 45 minutes with a champagne toast to all of our 2020 Women of Power awardees. So get ready for just an extraordinary event and for some information that is going to move you and catapult you further into your destiny of success. I welcome you to the 2020 Quad County Urban League Women's Empowerment Summit.
Welcome to the Quad County Urban League's 2020 virtual 6th Annual Women's Empowerment Summit, the first of the new decade. Our theme for this year is Women Being Heard and Giving Voice, 100 Years of Disruption. For us, this title reflects two themes that run throughout the year's programming. First is women empowering other women or giving them voice. We wanted to highlight how women show up for each other as mentors, as advocates, and as champions, whether in business, the community, in educational settings, or on a personal level. Our speakers this year have wonderful stories about how women help them achieve success in all aspects of their lives, and those stories are worth sharing. While we cannot be together in person, it is still fitting that we come together virtually to acknowledge, celebrate, and share the work of so many women in our communities. Our second theme is in keeping with the 2020 election year and the 100 years since the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified, giving women the right to vote. Today, more women have been elected to office than ever before, and yet, as we convene this year, we have a woman who is running for vice president. The women's suffragette movement, although flawed in turning a blind eye to issues of race and class, transformed democracy by vastly enlarging the electorate and forcing a recognition of women as political participants. We must work together as women to move us forward in all aspects of our lives. And your participation with us over the last 6 years is a giant step in doing that. As in past years, we will honor women who epitomize leadership, determination, and the willingness to help and support others. And of course, we will host our annual pitch competition where women are financially rewarded for effectively pitching their businesses. It is going to be a powerful, rewarding, and fun event, so sit back and enjoy. We would like to thank our sponsors and guests for supporting today's event, and particularly our board member, Greg Bush, for his contribution in producing this virtual platform. It is our hope that your experiences today creates memorable moments and speaks to your hard work and generosity on behalf of the Quad County Urban League. Together, we are changing lives and empowering community. Women, thank you and enjoy the event.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the 2020 Quad County Women's Empowerment Summit. I would like to start off with congratulating the Quad County Urban League on 45 years of serving their community. My name is Teresa Dench. I'm a training manager and chair for the Women's Leadership Development Committee at the Ketch facility of UPS. This committee values the importance of developing women leaders and guiding them to reach their goals to be successful. We have a community connections that supports volunteerism in the community, like Ronald McDonald House and Feed My Starving Children. We also have a business connections that give women at UPS an opportunity to connect with women leaders outside of UPS. That is what led us to Quad County Urban League. I've had the opportunity to be involved with the Women's Empowerment Summit for several years, and I have met a lot of strong, confident leaders that help support the development of other women. Women have made a lot of progress in the past, and as we celebrate 100 years of women's suffrage, I look forward to the leaps and bounds women working together, like at this event today, will make. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Illinois State Controller Susana Mendoza. Thank you to the organizers of the 2020 Women's Empowerment Summit for inviting me to join you by video. I hope you're all staying healthy and managing through this terrible pandemic as best as possible. I am honored to be among the many outstanding and accomplished women who are part of your program today and to be recognized as a woman of power. Thank you so much for this award. Just the other night, my 7-year-old came over to me and said, "Congratulations, Mommy. I'm very proud of you." And I was like, "That's so sweet. But why are you proud of me?" And he held up the award you sent me and read it out loud to his dad. That was pretty awesome. Thank you so much for that. I am truly delighted to be celebrating a century of women's suffrage this year. Like all of you, I cherish this country we live in and our constitutional right to elect those who represent us in government. The right to vote is precious, but today, even though it's been a century since the 19th Amendment was ratified, women across this country still have work to do in our quest for equality. Remember, we are paid less than men for doing the same work. We are charged more than men for the same goods and services. We are responsible for most of the housework, child rearing, and financial decisions in our homes. We take care of our elderly parents. And even though we make up more than 50% of the nation's population, we are not adequately represented in our government. We haven't come nearly far enough. That's why I want to challenge and encourage all of you to be even more involved in your government. Friends, it's up to us to fight for ourselves. No one else is going to do it for us. If we want the gender pay gap closed, then it's up to us to make sure it happens. If we want access to affordable health care, we're going to have to demand it. We're never going to get better economic opportunities if we don't challenge the status quo. And it's up to us to say no to sexual harassment, violence against women, and attacks on our reproductive rights. If we've learned anything over the past 100 years, it's that women cannot leave it up to others to do the right thing on our behalf. We need more women to run for public office. We need more women to be active, engaged, and informed. Most importantly, women must vote. Now, I want to tell you a story about a woman in our audience today, Tiffany Tyler, and why she believes in the power of voting. Tiffany worked for the Quad County Urban League. Many of you may know her. She was instrumental in putting today's event together. In 2008, Tiffany was living in Fresno, California with her husband, who was serving in the U.S. Marine Corps. As you'll recall, there was a pivotal presidential election race that year. Illinois' very own Barack Obama versus John McCain. Now, Tiffany wasn't particularly interested in politics at that time, but in 2008, for the first time in her life, she felt moved to make sure her voice was heard. She knew she had a rare opportunity to help make sure America had a president who looked like her and who looked like her children. A president who understood the challenges facing people of color in this country. So she filled out a mail-in ballot and cast her vote for Barack Obama. And mail-in ballots, by the way, work for all of us, not just for elected officials. Now, Tiffany remembers watching the election results come across the TV and celebrating with her friends when it became clear Obama would be the next president. Now, to say that was a memorable night would be an understatement. And today, Tiffany can take pride in knowing her vote made her an important part of a key historical moment in this nation. That's exactly what we're celebrating this year. 100 years of women like Tiffany making their voices heard at the ballot box. Now, I want to leave you with this. In 2010, I had the privilege of traveling to Iraq with 6 other female lawmakers from around the country at the behest of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to help monitor the first elections under the new Iraqi government. These were their first free elections. Iraqi law required that a quarter of candidates on the ballot be women. It was a historic moment. But as soon as we landed and as we moved about the region, we could hear gunfire and IEDs going off. There was a very real possibility that Iraqi citizens would die, and some did, as they bravely made their way to the polls to vote. It was that important for them to defy the terrorists and cast their votes for their new government. I remember women proudly showing me the purple ink stains on their fingers that indicated they had voted. I think about that experience a lot. And I think we should all step back once in a while and remember how comparatively easy we have it in the United States when it comes to voting. But even with that, we must stand up against attempts at this very moment across our country to suppress our votes. We cannot let that happen. As we remember the American suffragists who were ridiculed, beaten, and imprisoned over the course of 80+ years simply for seeking the right to vote, let's not take their work for granted. Thank you for inviting me to speak with you today. Enjoy the rest of the summit, and let's hope circumstances allow us to be together soon.
Hi, I'm State Senator Kimberly A. Lightford, Senate Majority Leader of the 4th Senate District. I would like to congratulate Theodia Gillespie and the QCUL on 45 years of servicing the community. Your mission to inspire, educate, empower, and advocate for African Americans is admirable and an inspiration to all. Thank you for sharing your ideas and keeping the community informed. This is a great accomplishment, and your work will prove more important over this unprecedented time. Last month, we celebrated the 100th year anniversary of women's right to vote, but it is very important to recognize that the women's suffrage movement asked Black women and women of color to wait their turn. During the Women's Suffrage March, the Black women, including founding members of my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, who participated, were told to march in the back. Women of color were denied the right to vote until 1965, 45 years later. Let us honor all the women who fought to secure voting rights, and especially those who were not deterred when told to wait their turn. I have promoted during this pandemic the importance of the 2020 census distributed masks and goods to organizations in my district, and I held a Juneteenth march for police accountability. I've also chaired the Senate Education Working Group to create the session's agenda to address the needs of schools during the pandemic. And most importantly, right now, I'm spearheading the creation of the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus agenda to rid systemic racism. Thank you all for allowing me to join you on this evening, and enjoy the rest of your night.
My name is Dr. Hadia Nicole Green, and I am truly honored to receive this 2020 Quad Urban League Women of Power Award. This is truly an honor from an organization that supports racial justice, civil rights, and economic empowerment for women. First, I would like to thank God, who is the source of all of my inspiration. I'd also like to thank Theodora Gillespie as the president and CEO of the Quad County Urban League, and Quintella Inti for your support in making this happen. When we first met 2019 at the Policy Circle, I didn't know we would end up here, so it's truly an honor to come before your group of strong, resourceful, beautiful, amazing, powerful people to share the story of the Ora Lee Smith Cancer Research Foundation, which I founded and named in honor of my late aunt, who inspired my journey to develop a treatment for cancer without side effects. This is something that impacts so many people. Most people in every room I've been in has lost a loved one to cancer or knows someone who has been impacted by cancer. And we are tired of losing. I come today to talk about the work of the Ora Lee Smith Cancer Research Foundation as not just a beacon of hope and not an organization to raise awareness, but we are ushering in a new era of how cancer is treated and cancer nonprofits. Inspired by the work of Susan G. Komen, we're taking this to the next level with the development of a new technology using lasers and nanoparticles that has already demonstrated complete elimination of human tumors in mice after one treatment over the course of 15 days with no observable side effects, no chemo, no radiation, and no surgery. We are on the brink of a cancer revolution, and we, as a 501c3 nonprofit organization, need each of you to stand with us and support us with your donations at oralee.org, ORALEE.org. That's ORALEE.org. So please go to oralee.org and become a monthly donor at any amount, even if it's just $1. Literally, if I had $1 for everyone who heard my story and knew about the work we were doing at the Ora Lee Foundation and was proud of the work and inspired by this journey, we would have the money that we need to begin human trials. So please take one moment and donate at least $1 right now today at oralee.org. And if you can, become a monthly donor, even if it's $1 a month. But please take this stand with us right now without delay. We also need your introductions to your network to help us with our marketing and establishing partnerships with organizations that can help us amplify our message and get the word out. Recently, I was named as a Woman of the Century by USA Today, along with Rosa Parks and Coretta Scott King and Hillary Clinton and Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey. And it's a huge honor to be named among the greats and celebrated in this way. But I also need the monetary contributions to realize the rest of the plan and to implement the human trials for the technology that has already been developed. We're past the research stage. We're part of the tech incubator. We have clinical partners in a variety of cancers, including breast, prostate, head and neck, colorectal, cervical, ovarian, skin, and brain cancers. We are ready to begin human trials, and we are raising money to begin human trials through the nonprofit to keep the technology affordable and accessible for all. This is critical as the first phase of how we design affordable healthcare, starting with the inventor and changing how cancer nonprofits direct the funding to technology that's already developed so that when it gets to the market, we can control the price point and ensure that this technology will be affordable and accessible. And I'd like to invite you all to shop on Amazon Smile and select the Aura Lee Smith Cancer Research Foundation as your charity of choice. Donate your birthdays on Facebook, and if you have employee matching programs, please join and sign up for that. We ask you all to host meet and greets, help us get the word out, and select the Aura Lee Smith Cancer Research Foundation as your charity of choice for everything that you're doing, specifically your cancer charity of choice. It's a new day, it's a new age, and I am very excited to be one of the women of power. Congratulations to the other recipients, and thank you to all of the volunteers on Team Aura Lee. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the Quad County Urban League and to the Women Empowerment Virtual Summit Chair and Committee for inviting me here today to participate and for the honor to just participate in the conversation. I applaud and with sincere, authentic gratitude want to thank the Quad City Urban League for their work supporting racial injustice, economic empowerment, but also with the foundation of educational excellence in all that you do. Serving over 98 affiliates, 300 communities in 35 states is impressive. And peaking more than 2 million people that you've reached is something that I'm incredibly proud to be part of and applaud you and virtually congratulate you. I want to be sure to quickly in the time that I have to in my remarks, not just to say thank you, but to share why I am humbled to be able to participate today. I think we find ourselves in incredible civil unrest around the globe, economic distress, and in unparalleled change in about every segment of our lives, and perhaps more than we've seen in a century. And I think all of that has to be bigger than a moment, but that this warrants a movement. This change demands more of us than we've been tasked before. I think it matters more than ever to have an accelerated demand for equality in not only the workplace, the workforce, but in our supply chains. Because money absolutely matters. Where we're procuring, where we're investing in, has to be inclusive of underrepresented communities and underserved communities so that we can create meaningful jobs. Meaningful jobs means more access to higher education and more access to healthcare. That's my unwavering commitment to supplier diversity, to the economy, to our country, and you have my commitment to be a partner in this movement forward. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel, How to Pitch and Scale Yourself. I'm Sandy Pierce, and I am a Senior Vice President with Bank of America, and I am honored to be here. I have been in the banking industry for over 25 years, and I'm extremely passionate about serving our clients, about helping and coaching our teammates, and being a support person in the community. And so I'm thrilled because I'm here with two phenomenal women, and I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves.
Hi, thank you for having me, and thank you for the warm welcome. So I'm Kristen Malik. I lead the supplier diversity efforts at CDW, headquartered here in Chicago. Our interests are nationwide and global, and the program that I have the opportunity to lead is peaks over $2 billion with direct diverse spend with minority women-owned suppliers, across the globe. Most recently, CDW was inducted into the $1 Billion Roundtable, memorializing that we are one of 28 global companies who commit to annually having diverse spend to equate to over $1 billion. And why that's important, what's more important is that we are creating equality within the supply chains and making access to capital in underrepresented communities. So looking forward to the conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy and Kristen. It's an honor to be on the panel with you. My name is Joanna Sahovich, and I'm the CEO of Chamberlain Group. We are a family-owned company headquartered in the Chicago area, and we're the world's largest manufacturer of garage door openers, gate openers, telephone entry systems, dock levelers, and then we're connected by our own cloud through all of them through our MyQ system. I come from a background of manufactured goods that are connected to ecosystems. So I love IoT, and I have a background through Honeywell and Stanley Becker, connected home, connected building, connected factory. So really I'm excited and I'm passionate about manufactured goods that connect to other ecosystems and other products to make people's lives better, whether in the consumer space, in the commercial space, or in the industrial space.
Great. And I think that's something we all have in common, of course, years of experience, but it's really about how we can help our clients and deliver for them every single day. So I'm super excited to be able to speak with both of you about this topic. So I'll start with you, Joanna. So everyone has something special to offer their job, their home, their community. And so can you just tell us a little bit about what you feel a few of your core strengths are and how you bring that to your work every day?
I started my career as a naval officer. I went to the Naval Academy for college, and then I served for 5 years after that. And one of the things that I learned as a naval officer was that all of the people who worked for me, all of my direct reports, were a lot more qualified to do their job than I was. And I had to figure out how to let them do their job and then make them successful, remove barriers, figuring out how to put the right people in the right places. And so really it's leadership, and it doesn't matter which industry it was, whether I was in commercial, whether I was in residential, whether I was in security or commercial building controls. Building a team and helping to make the team successful was by far the most differentiating characteristic that I was able to bring to the table.
No, I would agree, because it's really about being a great leader isn't about knowing everything. It's about building a team for you to be able to capture and achieve a common goal. And so I think that is a misconception that when you go into the workforce, you have to be an expert at everything. But the great part is it's actually being able to identify who's good at what and leveraging people's strengths to make the whole team better. And that's how you can accomplish more as a group. So thank you for sharing that. Kristen, do you have anything to add on that question? What about you?
Yeah, I would give a real, I think, live example. So, I had a career at a Fortune 200 organization for 20 years, and I was tied to a sales number. I could count on my hands how many times I missed that number, in a decade, and was fiercely competitive. And yeah, I would have thought I would have moved that organization in sales, for a lifetime. But then I became a mom 11 years ago to my daughter, Caitlin, and Caitlin was born with Down syndrome. And so there I am at 28 in a highly successful sales-driven established career, and now part of the disability community. And as I grew into this new role of being a new mom, but also either shopping or dining with my family, I really just didn't see any babies that looked like mine. I couldn't see the disability community in my community. I didn't see them shopping or working or thriving or having jobs. And it really became a standstill for me on how can I help but still stay true to me. So I, did not go to school for supply chain or architecture and engineering or D&I, but I became immersed in wanting to be a solve and create a solution for the disparity in underrepresented communities and underserved communities. But I wanted to do it where I know it could be really meaningful. So then I had both my personal and my professional life kind of merge in a meaningful way. So I could still stay competitive, close to the business, but I had to do it meaningful because I knew I had to make Caitlin proud every day. That if we're still talking through underrepresented communities, the civil unrest, the racial, environment that we find ourselves in, the women issues, the disability community just doesn't have a shot then anytime soon to be seen. And so I wanted to start making ground where I could. So I agree. I am a student of that philosophy that you don't have to be the expert to lead it.
The thing is, but what I think is interesting about what you said is not in addition to being an expert, but having the courage or being able to identify where there's a gap and to have the courage to be able to move forward to make change. So that takes me to another question for you, Kristen. So only after 2 years, you've been able to scale your company to $1 billion roundtable. So can you tell us, how were you able to do that in such a short period of time?
Yeah, so I have really only been with CDW, under 3 years. With the prior org, I was there 20 years and made the shift here. So I would tell you that one, I really love to win, and but I like to win in good spirit and where it's going to be meaningful. So when I came to CDW, there was a great program already in place, well funded, well invested in, not new. Not just jumping on the trend to create solves where we can get diverse procurement, but a program that had been in place for a decade. And so, I think my strategy was, how do we ensure that we can influence our customers? So CDW being the global VAR, solution-oriented tech provider, we are accountable for so many of our customers' IT procurement, whether we're priming or subbing. And so that comes with great responsibility. When you get an order from one of our clients, where do we procure that from? Who do we go to? When we're going out for RFP, who do we put as our sub? Who locally in that area can we bring part of the solution? Not to compete with CDW, but to collaborate with CDW. And so when we had that mind shift of, we're not competing against small businesses or diverse suppliers, because it's not even the same arena, right? CDW is not small, we're not disadvantaged. So when we started working on collaborating more and more, we added so many great, innovative small businesses, diverse suppliers into the chain. It just became a way of doing business even more than what was established. And the spend just exponentially grew. And I'll tell you that our customers appreciate it a ton. So much of our diverse procurement solutions come at customer ask. How can I have more diverse procurement with CDW? Tapping into our diverse network. So it worked on collaborating, but I think a great lesson that I always tell the teams I'm working with is that when we're working with small businesses, entrepreneurs, diverse suppliers, that it's never a tryout, that we are here to help, coach, and mentor. And so when you shift the mentality of, you're going to work with a global technology firm like CDW or some of the other big techs, that it can't be a tryout, that we have to be at it together. And it always has to be a win-win-win, a win for our customer, a win for our diverse supplier, and a win for CDW. If that's not in the projected outcome, then we shouldn't engage.
Absolutely. So congratulations on that. I think what's critical in moving forward in business is around, it's not win at all costs, right? We've got to do the right thing, not only for our clients, but for our teammates. And again, it really helps with building the brand. And so that takes me to the next question that, Joanna, I'll start with you. Is to be successful, you have to be able to scale or expand your network. So can you give us some ideas of how you were able to do that? how were you able to grow your network outside of just your initial kind of team within the company and then outside of your company?
I have a good story about that from my last employer at Stanley Black & Decker. I traveled with our CEO, John Lundgren, and he was always talking about this CEO that he knew or the other CEO that he knew, or he was friends with this CEO that we were partnering with. And I was really mystified. I was wondering to myself, like, when you become a CEO, do you get a CEO handbook? Do you get all the contact information and you're suddenly friends with the other CEOs? How does that happen? And I realized then, I've had a few more steps in my career, and now that I'm a CEO, I realized that I do have friends out there who are executives at other companies or CEOs at other companies, and it wasn't because I was trying to network. It's always been hard for me to think of the term networking, because to me that implies that you want something from somebody. Really, and it's advice that I give to our interns all the time when they're at the beginning of their career. It's make friends with people that you respect and that you have a lot in common with and that are equally good at their jobs. And one day you might be the CEO, or they might be the CEO, or you might be a senior vice president, but that becomes your network in the future. And so that's how I've worked at it. It's been awkward for me to ever think about, hey, I'm going to talk to this person because one day they might be able to do something for me. It really is better for me to approach the networking type activity with, I genuinely respect this person, I like this person, we have a lot in common, and we enjoy working together.
I like that because that's why I have a natural approach, because you're absolutely right. When people hear networking, it's I only want to do that when I'm looking for the next position, or and it can be awkward. But if it's very genuine in nature of, hey, you know what, I respect you, we're in the same field, we have the same interests, it comes a little bit more natural. So, Kristen, anything you would add to that?
Yeah, I love that you shared that story of, oh my gosh, is there a handbook or what do we do? I think, it keeps us all, we're all human at the end of the day. But, what I would add, where I have, found the most genuine relationships being formed is when you yourself can identify, in your network, if you will, who's like a time vampire and who is somebody that you have that genuine connection with. And it takes a lot of courage to have that differentiation. But at the end of the day, we all should, I would encourage us to spend time with those, that we genuinely want to be around, that we can learn from, that challenge us, that make us better, but also can be really compassionate. I think, now more than ever, as we sit in our home and the loss of human connection, has been upon us for months now. As I look at my tribe and circle, I look for a lot of compassion and want to make sure I'm giving a lot of compassion back. So I think you have to acknowledge the environment and where everyone's at, as your network grows, shrinks, grows, shrinks.
Thanks for bringing that up, because you're right. We can't lose the human element or the human connection, and you want to surround yourself with people when you're looking about, okay, who should I network with? Commonly, people always think up, so I want to always make sure I network with someone who is ahead of me. But there's a lot you can learn from your peer group or people that are even in other positions that may not be as high as yours, because there's something to learn from everyone. The key thing is, can you learn from them? Are they positive? And is there a genuine connection with them? And I think that would make networking a lot easier if people would approach it that way. That's how I do it. I love the comment around just being a CEO. Does it come with an instruction book or a manual? It's the same thing with kids, right? They don't come with an instruction book. The thing is, you kind of learn as you go, but the key thing is learning. So you have to keep learning throughout your journey, and you will naturally find people that can help you with that. Again, if you stay true to yourself, keep a human connection, be intellectually curious, and be honest and genuine in your interactions. So I know I've learned a lot today. I was taking notes even through that with some of your answers. I really appreciated the time that we spent today to get to know you and what you've been able to do to really differentiate yourself in the marketplace. And through that, you've been able to help your clients as well as through your community with your work here with the Urban League. So I really do appreciate our time. I thank everyone for listening, and paying attention here. If you have any other questions, our contact information is here. Feel free to reach out to us. And again, thank you for everyone for today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm State Senator Linda Holmes. I was elected in 2006 and began serving in 2007. I represent the Greater Aurora area, and I am currently the Assistant Majority Leader in the Senate, and I serve on the following committees. I serve as the Vice Chair of Local Government. I'm also the Vice Chair of Ag and Conservation, and I sit on the Executive Committee, Telecommunications, Ethics, and Government Accountability. I'm also the co-chair of the Senate Women's Caucus. That's a bipartisan group of Senate women, and I'm the co-chair along with my counterpart on the Republican side. But I want to talk about something here. I want to add a word of caution for women. We still earn less than our male counterparts. So we still have some work to do to be perceived as being equal. But I also want to give another point that I want to bring up is from a situation I experienced in the Senate. We recently had to vote for a new Senate president. And in that race, it was a male senator and a female senator that were running for those positions. As the co-chair of the Women's Caucus, so many people expected me to be voting for the woman. I didn't. I voted for the man. The reason I voted for him is because he was best qualified for the job. He was somebody who had been a mentor to me since I had began in the Senate. He was also a mentor to so many other state senators. He was always the go-to person if you had questions or needed help. He also helped us win our re-election seats. He put boots on the ground and gave money to my campaign. So I just want to make sure that we as women, I never want a seat at the table because I'm a woman. I don't want to get a job because I'm a woman. I want to achieve that because I am the most qualified for that position. So this election year that we're looking at here, I'm a huge advocate of the Biden-Harris ticket. And the reason isn't because Kamala Harris is an Asian Black woman. It is because she is incredibly smart, incredibly talented, and she is definitely the most qualified for that job. She is qualified to be vice president and eventually, I hope, president. So I just want to say this, as we continue on the 100th anniversary of the women's movement and earning the right to vote, we want to make sure that we're doing this because we are the most qualified and capable to do those jobs.
My name is Kalisha K. Page, and it is my honor to host this fireside chat on engaging, influencing, and provoking change. We have a distinguished group of panelists with us today. Before I introduce these tremendous, accomplished, and dynamic women, please know that I have significantly shortened their bios. These women have accomplished so many things that if I read their full bios, we'd be here all day. Shakina Perry is chair of the Cook County Young Dems. Our next panelist is Candace Moore. Candace is the City of Chicago's first Chief Equity Officer. Donna Miller is Cook County Commissioner for the 6th District. Stephanie Kipowitz is State Representative for the 84th House District in the Illinois General Assembly. Candace, what is a Chief Equity Officer?
Yes, and thank you for being. It's good to be here with you as well. So, a chief equity officer is a person, and in this case, in government, that's really focused on thinking about and supporting the enterprise in achieving equity, thinking about achieving equity in our services and our policies and in the resources that we distribute.
Shakina, in August, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of women getting the right to vote. What role do play in the elections?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. I believe that gender plays a role in elections, but I believe it's important for us to acknowledge the differing opinions of women based on our age, our race, socioeconomic statuses, where they live, such as urban or rural, and their overall lived experience. I know at the end of August, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, but not all women at that time were afforded the right to vote. So, like Black women, Latina, Native American women, we all had to fight for our enfranchisement years after that passage. And even just today, just reflecting on that, of how women of color show up to the polls and women in general, we vote at higher rates than men do. So I think that despite our history with who gets the right to vote and when, I think it's still important for just women to have a voice included in the political process because we advance those policies around gender equality, around women's health and families. But like women, like other voting blocks, we aren't a monolith. So we should view these issues intersectionally. But like I said, more women, when we call for more women to be in leadership, that's a plus. And we just need to create more pipelines to ensure that more women's voices are heard and prioritized over time.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller, you have been involved in influencing policy for years. Long before being elected to the Cook County Board, you were chair of Planned Parenthood of Illinois. What made you make the change from influencing policy and affecting policy to writing and creating policy?
It's an interesting thought to think of it that way. So that's such a great question. But I never thought of myself as a policy maker per se. I just thought of myself as someone who wanted to be with like-minded people who shared my values and ideals and wanted to make things happen. So that's what we did with Planned Parenthood. And I see being a person who's in elected office, being able to take those experiences where I've learned quite a bit and take my corporate experience from the corporate world and mesh that into what policies we need to have in Cook County. And the three things that I'm influencing on are important to me are public health, and because of my healthcare background, but then also the things that happen as it relates to property taxes and making fair property taxes in the suburban area and economic development. And all of those things touch on everything that influences the county. And that's where people might not realize that's what touches your daily life in ways you may not know.
Representative Kifowitz, you have served a number of terms in the General Assembly and have had numerous people and organizations try to influence you. What have you found to be the most effective way to influence change at the state level?
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on this panel. I truly appreciate that. The state level is really a melting pot of information directly from the residents and initiatives directly from leaders in business and the community. What I find most effective for people, individual people, is not to be afraid to reach out to your state representatives and your state senator and start building that relationship now, so that when issues come along, then you can freely express it. But a lot of state representatives have town hall meetings and community events. And right now we do a lot of Facebook events and Zoom meetings. And so most state representatives are available for the residents, and the residents are the key motivators for a lot of our legislation.
I want to ask you a follow-up question. So we've identified there's a problem. What would you say are the top one or two steps to facilitate change, to create more equity, knowing in the end, all families, no matter where you live, pretty much have the same goal?
Yeah, so in a lot of my work, I focus on systems, and the focus for me is equity and racial justice. So I really think about how are you taking a systemic approach to addressing sort of racial inequity, racial injustice. And one of the frames that we use in our work is it's normalize, organize, and operationalize. And it's a frame that you think about when you're talking about systems, particularly systems of government. So one, you have to normalize the conversation. You have to talk about the thing that folks don't often want to talk about. We have to build capacity for having successful conversations about race so that we can name the problem and so that we have a shot at addressing the solution. You have to organize. You have to look at how you are structured. You have to look at who your people are, what assets you have, and what strategies that you're going to employ. And so you have to actually organize yourself to do this work. And then you have to operationalize. You have to make a plan. You have to work the plan and be held accountable to the outcomes. You're not going to get it right in one sort of quick shot. You're going to learn some lessons along the way. There's going to be some oops and some ouch moments. And that's why it's fundamental to recognize that this has got to be a capacity that we're building amongst our entire community so that we can continue to iterate and we can continue to do this work at a systems level and not just sort of a one and done here and there.
What do you feel are the key things people should consider in choosing a candidate to vote for?
Absolutely. I think there are two things that come to mind immediately when you say that. I mean, I have my personal things that I look for when I go to the ballot box when I'm researching candidates. But I think the one thing that's affecting everyone right now is the coronavirus pandemic. The handling of the pandemic, with more than 6 million cases, over 183,000 deaths. These are real people, human beings, and some have been disproportionately affected by the pandemic more than others, particularly Black people, due to lack of health care and other structural issues affecting our communities. The virus really didn't care if a person was a Democrat or a Republican. And we should approach basic human rights and universal safety in that same manner, regardless of our party. But I see that across the United States right now, with the leadership up top sending certain messages, each individual state handling the pandemic in a different way. But at the end of the day, we have 6 million cases, which means more death to come. And if we don't actually unify and try to approach this pandemic in a better manner, that really just sets the tone it sets a really strong precedent about ways that the pandemic will be handled again in the future or something very similar to it. I mean, I think also just thinking about racial justice as a Black woman, I think it's important when I go to the ballot box, I'm voting for people who are taking my livelihood into consideration.
Commissioner Miller, what role is or can the county play in ensuring that all people have access to the vote?
I would say, and I'm not just saying that because we're in Cook County. Cook County really has put a lot of measures in place to not only ensure the security. We have top security experts who are we're fortunate enough to have them work at Cook County so that we have things in place that are not going to be tampered with. We also have vote by mail locations that are very strategically positioned so that people have access to them, whether they're commuters, whether they're staying in their own local communities. And the county clerk's office has put together this plan to ensure that. The other thing that I do want to say as it relates to that is that the integrity of the vote is what is in question with many people right now. And we hear a lot of things going around the internet that we shouldn't necessarily believe. But we need to get in touch with people so that they know your vote is going to be safe, your vote is going to be counted, and your vote can be tracked as well if you vote by mail. There is a tracking number on each voting ballot. You can track it from the minute you request that ballot to the minute it gets to the voting booth, if you will, to the voting location. So people need to know that. They need to trust that process. And we need to encourage as many people as possible to get out and vote. And that's as easy as having a conversation every single place you go. If you're going to Chick-fil-A, ask the person who took your order, hey, are you going to vote? What's your voting plan? If you're going to Walgreens, ask the person who's standing in line with you, what's your voting plan? And that's how we get the conversation going and we engage as many people as possible.
Representative Kifowitz, focusing on COVID-19, how has advocacy or constituent contact and outreach and the overall work of the General Assembly changed since COVID-19? How is veto session going to occur this year with COVID-19?
Well, thank you for that important question. We are continually working via Zoom, like a lot of people are working in their homes with working groups. And today was a virtual subject matter hearing that was on the internet and live streamed. And so we are doing the best we can. If the situation is still the same as it was back in May, we had a session in the Bank of America Stadium. It's an indoor arena, and we were socially distanced, and we wore masks, and we worked and did the people's work in that manner. So, but the work of the General Assembly is still happening, just like a lot of people are working from home. And we are, although we are apart, we are still together through text messages and through phone calls. I get a lot more messages from Facebook, a lot more messages on email, but we're still working very hard for the issues that are facing people today, and that is unemployment insurance and a lot of uncertainty in our environment. But we are still working hard for the people.
Ladies, thank you so much for doing this today and sharing your thoughts and ideas on how to provoke and engage change within our society. I very much appreciate it. We very much appreciate your time, and I thank you.
Let's start with Dr. Caldwell. Exactly what is a mentor?
A mentor is a person you develop a relationship with who is typically internal to your organization, because oftentimes we're navigating sticky situations in real time. So it's beneficial to have someone who is accessible, who you can actually talk to and get real time advice from. Oftentimes that person is investing in you. They're not necessarily financially benefiting, but in other ways. And so it's really important, specifically for women, to get mentors because we don't always traditionally have role models in our field of study. And so you will have women who have paved the way, who've learned experiences, so we won't have to repeat the same mistakes, and we can be more effective in our role, and not just for ourselves, so that we can bring people along and oftentimes improve the organization that we're working with. So typically that is what a mentor does, and it's beneficial to have them for those reasons and more.
Thank you. Judge Cobbs, what about you? What is a mentor to you?
In my opinion, a mentor is someone who is more like a silent partner, who gives advice when invited to do so, who does not do so much of directing or telling an individual what they should do or how they should manage a particular experience or thing that might be occurring in their lives, but someone who really is listening and who is guiding more like a silent partner, who mentors more by example based on his or her experiences in their professional and their personal life, who can often offer to a mentee how they may have managed in a situation or a particular circumstance and how that turned out. In essence, giving that individual options for how they might address a particular circumstance. It's giving guidance in a very different way, not a direction, but somewhat of a soft kind of like guidance to an individual, such that they might take the whole of the mentor's experiences and apply them to a particular situation or circumstance and decide for themselves what might be the best option or the best alternative for resolving or addressing a particular issue or circumstance occurring in their own life.
Thank you. Both very good answers, and provides lots of insight. And I do like the notion of champions and cheerleaders. I think we all need our personal cheerleaders in life. Now I'd like to shift a little bit more to your personal experiences. Could you share with us your personal experiences with being a mentee, but also your experience being a mentor? And let's start with Judge Cobbs.
So I've had the privilege of being in both capacities. As a law student, we had what's called the Black Law Students Association. And upper class persons would often be paired with a 1L or a new law student coming into the law school. And your role as a mentor with BWLA was to really help the new student become acclimated to the process of the law school experience. So to this day, I still enjoy a very close relationship with my mentee. It wasn't so much telling her what she needed to do in terms of studying or being prepared for classes. Most individuals, by the time they get to the advanced level of education, know how to do that. It was more a matter of being able to maneuver in the law school experience at the time that I went to law school, and likely still now. We were, as African Americans and as women, in the minority. I believe that continues to be the case to this day. Mm-hmm. So there was some need to have some level of support for the new law student to be able to maneuver within the law school experience and to confront sometimes issues that were not pleasant, sometimes issues that were seemingly racist or seemingly misogynistic. And so it was a matter of how do we get through this to get to the end game of acquiring the law school degree. And I've been mentored, and I was mentored by one of the best. So most know that for the majority of my young legal career, I had the opportunity to clerk as a judicial law clerk with the Honorable Charles E. Freeman, the first African-American justice to serve on the Illinois Supreme Court. Justice Freeman took me under his wing when I was first out of law school, and I had the privilege of being mentored by him in a clerkship on both the appellate court as the Supreme Court. Him having been the first African American to serve on the Supreme Court, I then became the first African American woman to serve as a senior law clerk on the state's high court. So Justice Freeman taught me a lot about thinking critically through judicial issues of first impression for the Supreme Court, and a lot about how to deliver a judicial opinion. So I was both mentor and mentee, and both experiences have served me well throughout my professional career, as now I am privileged now to serve in the capacity in which I first met my mentor, Justice Freeman. When he was an appellate court justice, I now serve as an appellate court justice.
Thank you. That's an awesome story. Dr. Caldwell, what about you? Would you share with us your experience being mentored and also being a mentor to others?
Yes. My background has solely in education. And as Judge Cobb said, oftentimes you don't necessarily see yourself represented in leadership roles. And that's been my experience. Even now, I serve as the only African female and one of the few women in positions of leadership. And that's been actually a consistent trend throughout my career. And so oftentimes my mentors, specifically in my direct role, have been white women. And I could think specifically serving in a provost capacity as I've collaborated and worked alongside them. And so they have invested in me, poured into me, helped me acclimate to the particular environment. And I would also like to say, typically, sometimes you may have mentors that are inside a particular institution. And I would also encourage us, especially with the benefits of technology, is to look at other ways that you can mentor. For me to find more people of color, I deliberately seek out podcasts that I dedicate myself to. There are specific blogs that I follow, and I actually do feel like that they are a way to nurture me and for me to actually get people who understand my unique experiences. I actually go to conferences and network. And so oftentimes mentors may come to you, but I would encourage you to seek out mentors, especially if you have a void in your field. So I've been grateful for the women. And I would also like to say that we know each one teach one. So I have been in a position where I can mentor as well. And one of the things I love about mentorship, and it goes back to something that Judge Cobb said, is that she still has those relationships. And so mentoring, which is beneficial, you can really have an opportunity to create lasting, lifelong relationships that can really turn into mutually beneficial. So I think one of the things that we need to say is that mentoring is not just one side. You oftentimes will get as much from your mentee as you're giving to the mentor. And so even now I think about positions that I have left I still have monthly conversations when people come up with situations. Those mentees still call me, even in different states, and say, hey, this is the issue that's going on in this context. How should I handle this? It may be a specific person. It may be something that's systemic to the environment. And so it's just been really beneficial because I do love to help people think about how to problem solve. And it also benefits me when they have those unique situations come up to think about in the future. How can I refine? How can I be more effective? So it's been a joy, and I'm grateful for the women who've mentored me, and I'm definitely making sure I pay it forward as well.
Thank you. I agree with you. With technology, we now have no limits around how we build relationships and establish those lifelong relationships. I too have benefited from mentorship relationships that have extended beyond what I could have imagined. So couldn't agree with you more. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but I want to thank you both. It truly has been a pleasure for me to chat with you today and also to learn from you. And you've given us all some really powerful information that we can apply as we all continue our empowerment journeys. And I say to all the women and men who are watching, all the best to you, and may you walk in power.
Yeah. Walk in power.
Women, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That's what the good book tells us. But I also like what Maya Angelou said. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Wells, and I am so delighted to bring you just some words of encouragement for this year's Women's Empowerment Summit with the Quad County Urban League. And I really want to focus on the very essence of the name of this summit, which is about women and about empowerment, and more importantly, how we can support each other even more moving forward. In the US, throughout most of history, women generally have had fewer legal rights and career opportunities than men, and we just celebrated our right to vote as women. Wifehood and motherhood were regarded as women's most significant contributions. But things have changed significantly, obviously, here in the 20th century. We have broken the glass ceiling. I am a living witness to that as a former executive for the McDonald's Corporation. We own small businesses, and I am blessed to have done that as well. We have sat in the C-suite, and we've accumulated personal wealth. We have made significant strides. Let's think about in 2008, over 100 women were sworn into Congress, making history. And now we're so blessed to have our first African-American female on the presidential ticket with Kamala Harris. Ladies, we have done great work. And yet, what saddens us all, my female friends, though we have really changed the trajectory of history and we have a long way to go, we also have a history of not supporting each other. If anything, ladies, we have to support each other. So what can we do? What can we do about this? There was some interesting information in an article by Dr. Sean Andrews in the Forbes magazine that really points to the fact that we can empower ourselves to empower other women. Can you imagine how much stronger and confident we are when we are supported by other women, and how much stronger and confident other women can be when we proactively support them? Research shows that we are changing. We as a group of women are changing in our behavior, and there's a collective shift in the mindset of many women. And we owe a lot of thank yous to the generation of millennials and Gen Z who are walking into the workplace and taking ownership for supporting other women in the environment. We can take a lesson from them. I love this quote that individually we are one drop, but together for sure, and we've seen it, we are indeed an ocean. So here are a few of my recommendations. Be intentional. When I left corporate America, I had mentored and coached a lot of women, but I did not take the time to cultivate relationships with other women. I found myself at 50 kind of alone. And I had to start all over. And thank God I had such great friends that helped me to build an even stronger friendship and network of women. If you don't do business with a company, you do business with people like you and people that you trust.
So be intentional, reach out to another woman, tap another woman on the shoulder. If you see a woman that got some bad shoes on that you like, give her a compliment. Don't just point at them. If you see someone whose hair is, on 10, please compliment them. If there's a woman at the top, don't think, oh, she's never going to call me back. Reach out, drop a note, let her know how much you admire her. These are the things that we have to do, and to be very intentional. And we need to also understand, number two, that connection building isn't just doing it one-on-one. We have to participate as well and give back. I think there's nothing wrong with and should be a part of a relationship is reciprocity. The other step I have for you is to cast down imaginations. This is a scripture. And that, in other words, amplify other women. And I really talked about that earlier. Let's celebrate each other and not tear each other down. You have to have a front row. Those are your VIPs. Some people refer to it as your squad. You have to tap into people and lean on them and be vulnerable with other women. You'll be surprised that many people are walking in your same journey. So in summary, we are, as women, empowered to empower each other. And there's nothing really more powerful than that. We should remember our struggles. Remember that we've come a long way, baby, but we have still a long way to go. And research indicates that the best support group for women are other women because we understand each other's struggle. I'm a woman, phenomenal woman. That's me. Every woman is your sister. So treat her accordingly. Thank you so very much for your time and for taking the time to listen. And remember, let's reflect and make a difference in another woman's life. Thank you and take care.
Hi, I'm Sylvie Légère. I am the co-founder of the Policy Circle, and it's really an honor to participate in this summit. I started the Policy Circle a few years ago because I wanted to be able to have real conversations with people in my community, people in my network. What do I mean about real conversations? Well, conversations about policies, about what impacts our communities, conversation about education, about starting a business, growing a business, hiring people, creating career pathways, about safety, about health in our communities. Policy is really a word, when you unpacked it, it's about community. So I started a Policy Circle with the goal of making it easy to start a conversation. So every conversation is based on a Policy Circle brief. Each brief provides an overview of the issue, goes beyond the headlines, give you a language to interact on an issue, to take ownership of the change that you want to see, and also to just build relationships with people who want to challenge and encourage change. So for this program, I wanted to give you an idea of what it's like to be in a Policy Circle. So I invited Dr. Lena Kilentine, who is a pediatrician, an author of children's books about biology, and a speaker. And I also invited Theodia Gillespie, the president of the Quad County Urban League, to engage in a roundtable discussion on health disparities and the determinants of health. Before we started talking, we all read the Policy Circle brief about it. So here it is. I hope you enjoy. Theodia, love to invite you to kick us off here.
Yes, thank you, Sylvia, for having this opportunity to speak before you. Normally, when we do the Women Empowerment Summit, that I have other guests to talk about certain issues and provide that support. And so I'm excited to be a part of this discussion. In March 13th was normally our Women Empowerment event was scheduled, summit was scheduled. And so 2 days before that, the world changed. We had this coronavirus that was impacting our communities, and it impacted our event. And so we had to reschedule. So here we are having this discussion. So Sylvia called me and we wanted to discuss when we could actually convened this event, the Women Empowerment Summit, because we're honoring so many wonderful women, but we had a great lineup of discussion. And health disparities was something that Sylvia and I talked about, this pandemic. And so we were just sharing what we were going through at this particular time, being locked up in our homes, not being able to socialize with each other, and then just reading and seeing on the news about what was happening with African American and Latino individuals. And so I said to Sylvia, it's like, wow, this virus is really impacting us. And what I'm seeing is that an organization that works with individuals, trying to get them placed into employment, making sure that they provide a successful, livable wages for themselves and their families, but having a virus is this that impact the ability to go to work, to take care of their families, was very disturbing to me as well as to our organization. And the only way a person can provide those kind of support to their families and themselves is that they're able to go to work. And some of the conditions that was causing this virus to take over their health and their family life was those underlying conditions, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, and being overweight. And I said, wow, this is impacting our communities, and that's what we need to discuss. How do we address these issues? Because if we're going to deal with those things that prevent them from getting employment, we also need to address their health issues. And so that's where the discussion for Sylvia and I started, in terms of, taking a closer lens as to what was going on in the community that I was servicing, to making sure that they have the resources and the things that they need to be successful individuals. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm excited to be part of this discussion.
Great, thank you, Theodia. Dr. Kellentine, I'd love to hear your perspective when you read the brief, what, the lens of care that you bring to this topic, and also what you saw are really the priorities.
Sure. Sylvia, I had a question as we jump into this a little bit. Could you define a little bit the lens of care so people can understand that? Meaning it's not just my focus, but what does it mean by lens of care?
Well, the lens of care, so thank you for asking. The lens of care is how when you are looking at an issue, where you're coming from. It might be a very personal level. Mm-hmm. It might be your family. Your primary focus is your family. It might be your business. If you are a professional, such as it might be your professional lens of care, looking at health disparities as a doctor or as a clinician, as someone who owns a clinic. It might be also at the community level, right? Such as how Theodia, her lens of care, were as a community, how do we look at health disparities? How do we get our whole community better? That's another level. Other people might be looking at it nationwide. If you are involved and your focus is more as a nation, how do we want to address this problem? Or it could even be at the global level as well, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the advantage of sharing your lens of care, because we all come at an issue from a very different experience. And it's an opportunity, it's an invitation for each of us to really share with others, well, where am I coming from? What is my priority? So as I'm engaging in a conversation, people understand your perspective, which is going to be very different.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. I wanted to, I think so many times when I enter in discussions, so many people don't think they have anything to share, or feel kind of threatened or uncomfortable with that. And I think it's important to kind of get that standing, especially in this time and age of division, and the inability to understand people. So thank you for that. So as Sylvie said, I am a pediatrician, and for the last 14 years, I've kind of left the grid, so to speak. I used to work in a very busy emergency room and went to community health as a missionary doctor. So I actually practice and volunteer as a physician for the last 14 years predominantly with a Latino population in a suburb outside Chicago who are uninsured. All our patients are uninsured, and it's been a unique model to get involved in the community to really make an impact. We deliver all the things that the patients need as much as that we can, and it's just been a wonderful thing to be involved with when the whole community comes together. So all our staff is volunteer, from our interpreters to students who come in to help, who are interested in healthcare and modeling those behaviors, to just making sure our patients know that they're cared for and that they're valued. And it's a very unique, and also that they have something to give. So our patients are uninsured, but they all pay, if they can, $25 a visit between community donations and the money that our patients gladly give in exchange for their health care. It's been a unique model that many people don't think can even sustain. And it's really been a wonderful opportunity to start speaking into some of those health disparities in our community.
So, you know, one of the other round two of a policy circle discussion is really to use the brief, in the information, the brief that you read before engaging, and kind of outline for you what are the priorities. You know, when I read the brief, education and health literacy, for me, it was something that really stood out in the brief as not only knowing about just the basic of health, but understanding how to navigate the health system and how to use resources that are available to you. And that's something that is not really being taught in schools or anywhere, that you're learning through your network, through failures, frustrations, but something that I think really needs to be at the forefront. So for me, those were some of the priorities that came out. So I'd love to hear, Theodia, in reading the brief, what were some of the things that you learned, and what are the priorities in regards to health disparities that came out?
Great, thanks, Sylvia. Well, first, I was very excited to be part of the reading of the brief and making some recommendation. And so when I was reading the data was just outstanding in terms of, you know, what's out there, what's causing some of the problems in our community. And so just as you, it's kind of the food insecurity, like the desert, not being able to have the transportation or not being able to access good produce, healthy food, and too much processing foods. When you live in a community where you don't have major grocery stores, you have a tendency to shop in stores that you can get to readily. And many of those are just really horrible in terms of the types of food that is in the stores. Outdated food, food that's just high in fat, high in carbohydrates, everything that cause all of those health issues that I talked about, you know, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. So it's really concerning. I think for me is that we need to educate our community a lot better in terms of, you know, whatever is accessible, how do they best prepare for those foods that can be a little bit more healthy, or help them to understand what they can do home, in their yards, or you know, growing food on this urban kind of garden, that can allow them to have better access to good food. And so transportation is another issue, which is highlighted in your brief, that they cannot get to these different types of stores, and that they're using only means of transportation they can, whether it's on their feet or, you know, bicycle or whatever. I mean, the ideal is that how we can better access them to these types of grocery stores, that they can get better food. And then the other part of the brief that I liked was they talked about the health disparity in terms of insurance, access to health services. You know, I'm working with different organizations like the Visiting Nurses Association to make sure that individuals know where they can go to get the kind of health care that they need that's affordable, which is one of the issues that they talked about in the brief, that insurance is not necessarily affordable for some individuals. that we need to come up with policies to make sure that they can have better access to healthcare, which I think are two major issues that I think the food insecurity as well as the healthcare access to healthcare services.
Great. Dr. Callington?
I just love kind of going through this brief because of just its holistic approach. I think there's many times that through our lens of care, as you say, we focus on just one aspect that we think is incredibly important. But as you look through these briefs, to understand that there's so many multifactorial things that contribute to the state of a situation. So you could actually help a situation, you think, by adding, for example, giving money for someone to get healthcare, okay? Or giving them public aid to get healthcare. But if you live in the suburbs, like for example, in the Chicago area, and if you're on public aid, you still don't have access to physicians. Most physicians out in the suburbs will not take public aid. So they would have to journey more into the city. So it's far more complex, and that's what I love that this brief brings out, the complexities of it, of health being not just the social economic factors, physical factors, health behaviors, and healthcare. And the poverty that comes into it. I think one fact that really particularly, which I'm really kind of inspired to look into deeper based on this brief, is, which kind of blows everything up, is the statistic that when you're talking about maternal health and infant mortality and morbidity, that when you normalize the salary and affluence of the population, that people of color, Black and Latino mothers, even if they're doctors and lawyers, still have higher morbidity and mortality than their counterparts. And to me, that's like, wow, there's a lot more going on in the healthcare system than just poverty and all those things, which are huge barriers, but there's something else. So you would think when you take away those barriers, then you should have more equal outcomes. And so in my mind, based on this brief, it's leading me to think about deeper some of those other issues.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Lena. Like the third round of policy circle, typical policy circle, is really to actually talk about what would be your focus and your engagement, right? One of the things that came out in the brief that each state have an office of minority health. And I think it would be very interesting to fully understand what the state of Illinois is doing in that space. So Teodia, I'd love to hear from you. What will be your focus of engagement on this topic after reading the brief and this brief conversation?
Well, as I've talked about, we need to educate our community a lot more. So one of the things after reading the brief was to make sure that we have more educational forums where we can have Dr. Palatine to come in and share about the work that she's doing. Also, what she just mentioned is the research, the cause and the fact of what we can do a lot more. And I think if we can make our community a little bit more comfortable about being part of that research and what we need to do to come up with some real solutions so we can take it to our legislator to say, these are things that we need to put in place, policies and just awareness, how we can ensure that these things such as mothers dying during childbirth, or why our communities can't have better grocery stores in these communities so that they can get more healthy food, educating our young people in the schools about, really developing a really healthy lifestyle in terms of eating and exercising. And so I think, as an urban league, health is so important to what we do every day in trying to prepare individuals to be successful individuals in their communities, that we need to make that the forefront of our agenda in terms of addressing health issues and disparities within our communities.
Right. Dr. Calentini, would you have some things to add?
Oh, wow. You know what? I'm so glad that you asked me to be part of this brief, because I feel like from this brief and this little discussion, I've got an actual item to do. Mrs. Lipsy, we need to get together.
Yes.
We have never met
absolutely.
together. And I think that's the opportunity you have when you're sitting around in a circle discussing those. And like, I've got this much, and you've got these resources, and I've got this resources and this focus. And what can we do together? So I'm excited about that. And the whole idea of identifying, reaching out, planning, and executing, I think there's something we all can do. For me, my focus obviously is I have a passion for healthcare and education. And those are particular areas, whether it's educating kids to inspire them to go into this type of field, or educating people in order to help them have better health outcomes. And I'm having an opportunity that not enough for me just to give a talk. It means actually coming beside individuals and walking with them, because it does take all hands on deck. And there's something that we all can do for those things. We can't do it all, but just, having that ability to focus our lens of care of how we're going to make an impact. So for me, it is continue to help make access, but also surrounding and extending my network with others who are collaborating, and to give that more power. So I don't need to start something new when things are already going. So.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for taking part. I think this gives everyone a great idea of the value of engaging in a constructive conversation. You find allies, you find commonality, and then you also find focus to really have an impact. So thank you so much, Dr. Calentine and Theodia Gillespie. Thank you. And thank you for having part of this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope this gives you a really good idea of what it's like to be in a policy circle and the value of a policy circle roundtable discussion. It expands our knowledge and build relationships to make a change. I invite you to visit thepolicycircle.org to consider being a convener and starting a conversation to change the conversation.
Hi, are you scared of the dark when presenting your elevator pitch? Do you have a brand message to close a deal within minutes? Does your brand get lost under pressure? Try explaining it to me like I'm a 15-year-old. Hello again. Welcome to the 2020 Women's Empowerment Summit. My name is Irma Lopez. I am the Outreach Manager for the Business Enterprise Program, or BEP, under CMS, Central Management Services, with the state of Illinois.
And hi, my name is Quintella Enti, Director of Strategic Sourcing and Sustainability at KFA, and welcome to Perfecting Your Pitch. Everyone needs a great elevator speech to win over partners, investors, and even to gain new customers. Today, we're going to explain briefly what an element of a perfect pitch could be when you want to win these stakeholders. First, you want to start out with an introduction that explains the problem, the pain that the customer is possibly feeling. You want to massage the pain to make the customer care and want to be called to action. You come in as the hero when you share your product or service as a solution. Also talk about traction. Explain how your company is growing. You want to talk about your market strategy as well. Are you talking to people through social media to gain business, or attending wonderful pitch competitions like these? Show us how you make your money. Are you winning it by word of mouth? Are you doing it by just going online or going to events? And last, also talk about your competitors versus your unique offering that is always better than them. The fixers. Describe you and your unique qualified team. List experience or background. Last, you want to conclude and recap with your intro, your company's name, and your contact information. Okay, ready, set, Irma, let's pitch.
Yes, today's contestants are Patricia Gonzalez, Healthy Substance Latin Kitchen and Vegan Cuisine, Luz Cavazos, Juicy Lucy Sangria, and Jade Lee, Supply Chain Services Incorporated.
Hello, my name is Patricia Gonzalez. I'm a vegan for a beautiful and important reasons. I begin to have my dreams to stay my own business where I can help to all the people like me who do not eat meat or animal products, either by conviction or by prescription. Being a proud Mexican from Jalisco, I want to show why the UNESCO Organization for the United Nations Organization for Education, Science and Culture named Mexican food an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Science, the food is based on veggies, grain, and fruit. They are combined and transformed into the flavor from the ordinary to extraordinary. With that principle, I begin to prepare my dishes. Without change the flavor, but not change the ingredients, as well as transform them into the typical Mexican vegan dishes. I will begin to describe my menu. Is my tamales are still made for corn dog and corn husk, but filled with exquisite moles and veggies without having any type of animal or meat, adding top quality products. My tacos al pastor that have flavor without having the pork meat. Tacos de carne asada without having beef. Quesadilla without having cow or milk, or cookies and cakes without having butter and chicken eggs, and many more dishes to make. It sounds strange, but is all and everything we manufacture at home, including the tamales, the cheese, and all the bakers and pastries. I am sure you will consider being a vegan after to try my food. I will use the prize from this competition to continue to enable others to prevent harming animals and prevent the cruelty that animals go through by serving a vegan dishes. So come to Healthy Substance Kitchen restaurant in Chicago. And thank you so much for your attention.
Hi, my name is Luz Cavazos, and I'm the owner of Juicy Lucy Sangria. How many of you have found yourself in and out of a job or know someone that this has happened to? 5 years ago, I found myself in this position. Rather than look at it as a negative, I made a plan with my family, and just like that, I went from being out of a job to the owner of Juicy Lucy Sangria. So when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. In my case, I made sangria. After being laid off 4 different times in my career and companies downsizing, I decided to take matters into my own hands and start my own company. I decided to invest in myself. Sangria continues to be one of the most sought after select wines of choice, according to Wine and Vines magazine. In 2017, U.S. sales approached over 60 billion. We currently do trade shows, we do business events, meetings, social media, festivals. We are currently in a few stores and restaurants. You can also visit our website. We sell our product online. With 20 years of family tradition and over a decade of providing handcrafted creation, consumption, package, and distribution, I am very fortunate to have Juicy Lucy Sangria family to support me through this journey. I couldn't do it without them. If you'd like to purchase our product, you can visit our website at juicylucysangria.com www.supplychainservices.com.
Hi, my name is Jade Lee, President and CEO of Supply Chain Services Inc. And we're headquartered in Lombard, Illinois, with another facility in Dallas, Texas. And our service is very critical to a lot of customers. But before I mentioned our services, I would like to bring you a very interesting case. Recently, Morgan Stanley is facing 7 major lawsuits, all stems from their IT asset disposal vendors didn't erase their data in the servers, and so their customers and sued Morgan Stanley. And also, this vendor was unable to account for several servers that they took out either from data centers and Morgan Stanley's branch offices. So this brings into a very interesting question. What disasters corporations could face if data in discarded hard drives was not destroyed? And this also brings into the importance of the 3 mission critical services that we provide to protect our business customers. First is responsible electronic recycling management. Second is secure hard drive data destruction management. Third is retire IT asset remarketing management. We perform everything in our best-in-class secured facility. And then we are the only service provider in the industry with unprecedented 10 key certifications. And 7 of the certifications being NACE certification for secure data destruction. And nobody else in our industry has so many NACE NACE certifications. And while most of our competitors are wiping data by only perform 1 wipes, we still follow Department of Defense's protocol for 3 wipes that sharply differentiate us from competitors. And with regard to the recycling service that we provide, and we cater to a lot of global electronic OEMs and manufacturers, and or close to 100% recycling rate. It is very critical to them because we help them to position as a leader of sustainability in their industries. And we are a market leader, and that differentiate our competitors in the following ways. We have a validated, impressive line of certifications. We have a stringent data destruction process that protect our customers from data breach liabilities, and or close to 100% recycling rate that can position our customers as sustainability leaders. And last but very importantly is our integrity and perfect compliance records, which is very dear to a lot of our corporate customers. So we continue to grow due to business customer demand of a trustworthy service provider, and that can protect them from data security and environmental liabilities. And we continue to reach our potential business customers by making presentations at the key industry conferences where CEO attend. I'm a very well-known presenter in many conferences, and our sales team always reach customers through LinkedIn and web conferencing, and we attend supplier diversity conferences for the WBE and MBE, whereby we can talk to chief diversity officers of major corporations. And so we look forward to communicating with you because we provide a very important and mission critical services to your corporation. I look forward to speaking with you soon. This is my contact information.
Chat audience, it's time for you to vote. Please look at the screen to follow the instructions to go to the website where to vote, along with how to text your vote in. For those who are dialing in by phone, please go to online, POLLEV.com/QCUL Women's SEM 514, or text at QCUL Women's EM 514 to 22333 and respond. A for Patricia Gonzalez, Healthy Substance Latin Kitchen and Vegan Cuisine. B for Luz Cavazos, Juicy Lucy Sangria. Or C for Jade Lee, Supply Chain Services Incorporated. All right, I just want to remind you all that the winner that you choose will receive a cash prize of $500 from sponsor and my wonderful firm, KFA Inc., and they will receive that after this event via Zelle. So thank you all again for participating in the pitch competition as our judges. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Quintella. I really appreciate the opportunity to be amongst these amazing women. I feel already empowered, enlightened, and just excited to be among such an amazing group of women. What I wanted to offer is one-on-one consultation and some guidance on the opportunities available through the state and other entities as being certified with the state of Illinois. And I'd be more than happy to provide information on BEP certification, as well as how you can leverage existing certification and potentially come to us with a much faster and streamlined application process should you be already certified with an entity that we currently recognize. Our certification is free of charge. It's entirely electronic, and there is an immense amount of push to increase our diversity spend. And this includes every single agency in the state of Illinois, as well as any state-funded college and university. So there are some potential opportunities for anyone and everyone out there. I used to say we buy everything but liquor, but I've been corrected. The universities do purchase liquor. So whatever you sell, the state of Illinois is potentially buying, as many citizens rely entirely on the state of Illinois and its services. So please consider getting certified. I would be more than happy to walk you through the process, as well as explain the background of the program and how it could potentially benefit your company. Again, thank you for having me among all these incredible people today.
Okay, thank you so much, Irma. I appreciate you so much, and thank you for always just whenever needed. Without further ado, we have the lovely Miss Jordan Bush, our producer. Is her dad coming up too? Are you both? He's not coming up. But here's our lovely producer. Can we give her a hand? Great job producing us, Jordan.
Thank you.
Could you please share who the winner is of our pitch competition so Greg could get ready to Zelle them $500?
So we have the winner. The winner is Luz Cavazos, the Juicy Lucy Sangria.
Congratulations! Congratulations, Luz.
Wow, was that amazing or what? I know you're over there going, whoa! It couldn't have been any better if I were here live and in person. We got tons of just great information that you'll be able to use going throughout the year and even to share with your friends and your colleagues and associates. And we do certainly hope that you do just that, because being selfish is not a good thing in this day and age. Share, 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 because what you share is able to benefit others, planting seeds of success all around you. All of the speakers were super, super, super amazing. The panel discussions, off the chain. And if that women's suffrage panel discussion did not move and compel you and inspire you to go and vote, I don't know what in the universe can. It is very important for us to really understand and appreciate that you have the power to transform America in the form of that ballot. Do not take it lightly. Take it seriously. Go to the polls and vote, as my friend says. Take your soul to the polls, because our very democracy depends upon it. We also want to thank Dr. Green, and we certainly encourage her and encourage you to support her effort to move forward with the cause. So now we're getting to that very important part of our program where we acknowledge and recognize and celebrate our awardees, our honorees who are the 2020 Women of Power. We're going to have a streamed live champagne toast with our fearless leader, Theodia Gillespie. So grab your champagne glass and get ready for the toast. And in the meantime, I thank you so much for allowing me to share this moment, this celebration with you. And I look forward to joining you again next year, 2020, at the Quad County Urban League's Women's Empowerment Summit. Cheers and to the best. Stay safe, healthy, and successful.
Thank you to everyone for joining us this afternoon. I know this is quite different from what we've done in past years, but because of our situation, we had to make sure that we honor the women that we selected to be our 2020 Women of Empowerment honorees. Thank you for all who participated as speakers. I have enjoyed every topic, every workshop. I miss being together with everyone, but know that they're quite counting. We appreciate the support that we get from our sponsors, for our elected officials for taking out time of their busy days and schedule to be with us, and to our board of directors who tune in with us today, and to you, Greg, for providing this great platform for us to carry out our Women Empowerment Summit. Thank you, and Jordan. And of course, for Quintella, who always organizing activities for us. So here's to our honorees. Thank you for being the leaders in your corporations or in your communities or in your organization. Thank you for always supporting each other. As Karen said in her statement, we have to support each other because we need each other more than ever. And so I salute our honorees and to all of those who participate in today's event. I'm drinking ginger ale. Some may be drinking water, others may be drinking coffee, some may be drinking champagne, but we all celebrate together. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great afternoon. And we look forward to seeing you, hopefully, in person in 2021. Cheers. Cheers.